This is Radar from the Radar Tay blog coming at you another edition of MLB Observation of the Hot Stove week number 20 as we are getting towards the end of spring training where all these roster decisions are coming in. Some other major signing of dominoes are falling. The Dodgers played the Padres in Korea, and they split those two games there, and they're playing the national team. So we're ramping up here. Unfortunately, in the Midwest, I'm wearing the red hat to represent the Midwest right now. It's very, very, very cold. So, yeah. Bad news for the Astros. Jose Urquidy has elbow pain in his forearm, so his elbow pain and forearm pain, so he's going to go to the injured reserve of the year. With Justin Verlander already on the list, we know that, and Lance McCullers, and I don't know if it's between Luis Garcia, Christian Javier, but apparently the Astros are going to be down 4 starting pitchers. They were bragging that they go 8 deep with the Verlander, McCullers, Framber Valdez, Jose Urquidy, Luis Garcia, Christian Javier, J.P. Brown, and J.P. France and Brown, whatever, Brown and France. They're like, we're really deep. Well, guess what? If you're missing 4 out of 7 or 8 of your pitchers, that's a problem. Ethan Small's out for the Giants with an oblique injury for a few weeks. Nathan Grabasio is going to Kansas City from Seattle for the player to Kansas City from Seattle in that earlier Samad utility player trade as a player named later. Angel Felipe, now that he's having Tommy John surgery, the A's first DFA'd him. And, of course, no one picked him up on waivers because he's out for the year, so they cut him. Feel bad for him. Orioles have gotten Peyton Bird back on waivers. He's bounced around a few times. Again, just insurance. Bad news for the Rays. Josh Lau is going to start the injured reserve, and DeLuca was already going to start, so there's going to be some at-bats open in right field. TJ Friedl's a wrist fracture, so that is not good for the Reds because the Reds have just bodies in the outfield between him and Brennan and Stuart Fairchild and Fraley, but none of them are amazing, but they still need guys who know how to play the outfield. Dodgers announced Gavin Stone is going to be the 5th starter, and that makes sense. Not sure when Buehler, May, Gosselin, and Kershaw are going to debut this season, and what's up with Paxton and his injury, because we all know that so far Yamamoto and Glasnow started the first 2 games. So that's going to be a real question, with the rotation. So we know that. Bad news for the Twins. Closer Duran, setup man Thielbar, and one of the starting pitchers they got in the offseason, DeSclafani, are all going to start the injury reserve. That's not good for a team that's need help pitching-wise. Mariners cut Cole Tucker, the former Pirates top prospect, didn't make the team as a backup. Chris Murphy, unfortunately, ligament damage in his elbow, so he's going to miss time. Blue Jays have signed Mike Mayers to a deal. That's good depth there because we talked about they've had some injuries in the rotation between Manoah and Gosman. Tony Kemp was cut by the Reds, and that makes a lot of sense because the Reds are full of infielders, even with the Marte suspension, so they don't need a light-hitting infielder. And then, as I mentioned, the Dodgers not sure about the rotation, so relievers Blake Treinen, Emmett Sheehan, and Brad O'Grady and Walker Buehler, the starter, they're all going to start the injured reserve, so that's a few key pitchers right there, including Buehler. Tyler Wade, the super utility, formerly of the Yankees, an example, and Jackson Merrill, one of the Padres' best prospects, will make the opening day roster, and he's going to play center field, which makes a lot of sense because, again, Azokar is not proven to be an everyday player, and Profar is going to play left field. So Tatis is kind of like lonely out there with productive outfielders. So give the rookie prospect a chance. And supposedly this Graham Pauley, who's going to play third base, made the roster so that Manny Machado can ease back into spring training as a DH. Brandon Williamson for the Reds got injured reserve. Matt McClain has a shoulder injury, so that hurts the Reds even more. So you're like, maybe they should have kept Kemp or Harrison, who opted out. No, they got enough guys to cover that. Asa Lacy of the Royals has Tommy John surgery, so he's out for the year. Evan Arroyo for the Reds has shoulder surgery, so he's going to be out for a while. Michael A. Taylor signed with the Pirates, and so Domingo Germán. Again, Domingo Germán signed kind of late in spring training, so I don't know if he's going to break camp with the team. But he could be good depth if Marco Gonzalez or Martin Perez pitch well enough in the first half to dump the veteran players, what the Pirates do, flip them for prospects. And Michael A. Taylor doesn't make sense because if Sawinski and Brian Reynolds are going to play center field and left field, and they're your two of your 3 or 4 most productive players, then you got Connor Joe, a first baseman. You got Andrew McCutchen, who's going to DH a few times a week as well. And you got Henry Davis, the catcher, who should be catching because their catching spot isn't great. He's going to get some outfield at bats in right field. Does Michael A. Taylor become a very expensive $4 million backup center fielder when he's won Gold Gloves and hit 15 to 20 home runs in a season? There's at least a half a dozen teams in each league that could use a center fielder on a regular basis that would actually help them out. Like, I don't know, like the Royals, maybe, the Red Sox. Like, those are a few teams there that I was thinking that maybe Texas Rangers are another team. It's just there's a few teams. Cleveland, like, again, there are a few teams that can use center fielders right now to make an impact on their team. And I don't know why going to the Pirates is what it is. And I mentioned the Reds don't have real good, great everyday players. So the Reds are definitely another choice out there. Maybe the Cardinals, with the injuries they have. So again, I'm listing a few teams in particular that can actually use him, and maybe Philadelphia. So again, a lot of teams that could have used him. I don't know why I went to Pittsburgh. But again, I don't know how much he's going to play, so he's going to be a good trade deadline candidate. Jordan Luplow, after the Braves cut him, signed a minor with the Phillies. And again, the Phillies need some help outfield-wise, depth-wise. That's a good move. J.D. Davis officially signed with the A's. Between him, Abraham Toro, Alesmis Diaz, and the other Diaz, they got plenty of guys who are question marks defensively, offensively at third base. So maybe if he plays well enough, he can be traded to another team that could use him because he's a good position player in terms of offense. He has played corner, infield, and left field. But again, at least going from one bay to the other bay. Daniel Hudson made the Dodgers roster, and we all know whenever Daniel Hudson's been healthy as a starter reliever, he's a very quality pitcher to have in the back of the rotation when he was a starter, and he's a very good setup man who won a World Series before, and the Dodgers need help in the bullpen. Yasiel Puig, speaking of the Dodgers, to sign a contract to play in Mexico, so he's continuing to keep the hopes alive. Atlanta decided to sign Bryce Elder who had made an all-star team, because again, Charlie Morton, Max Fried, Chris Sale, and Spencer Strider. Is that your 1 through 4? That's incredible. All 4 of them have been all-star caliber pitchers, even if not all of them have an all-star appearance on their resume. They still have some other guys on the 40-man roster, like Ian Anderson and a few other guys, but they decided that even though they spent a lot of money this offseason on Ronaldo Lopez, being an expensive setup man, they're like, nah, we're going to make him the 5th starter. If he was good enough to be a 5th starter, the White Sox could have had him as a 5th starter. But he got flipped to Los Angeles and Cleveland last year and was okay for them, so I don't understand that. Hopefully he does big against the White Sox when the Fox plays the Braves. Jackson Chourio, that huge Brewers prospect who got huge in terms of hype, this huge contract before he even played a single major league game. So it kind of makes sense if you make that kind of commitment to a guy that he's going to play every day in center field or right field. Garrett Crochet, the White Sox announced he's going to be open day starter, so I am happy for that. I decided to be much better at the Sox closer. Andy Reid apparently is going to throw out the first pitch at the Royals home opener. That's pretty cool. Josh Harrison, we mentioned, became a free agent with the Reds. And Blake Snell, one of the 2 major signings that happened in the last week, has signed a 2-year, $62 million deal. So I don't know exactly the numbers in years, but he had a lot of years and money up here. Then this is what he was offered in the middle, and he kind of took this. But he can opt out at the end of the first year. And again, that makes more of an impact than Matt Chapman, because when all healthy, a Logan Webb, Blake Snell, Kevin Gausman, Alex Cobb, and Jordan Hicks rotation on paper, 1 through 5 is better than 1 through 5 that Arizona and San Diego and even Los Angeles has 1 through 5. But it's a question of if and healthy, and if the top end of that rotation, Logan Webb and Blake Snell, I don't think that's better than the Dylan Cease, Joe Musgrove, Yu Darvish top 3, or the Eduardo Rodriguez in the middle between Merrill Kelly and Zach Gallen, better 1 through 3. And if in a perfect world, the Dodgers, Amadu, Tyler Glasnow, Walker Buehler are in your top 3, then maybe, but that's a good top 2 and a 1 through 5. So that makes more impact. But again, they did all the improvements to the offense with Lee and Matt Chapman. Let's see if that move helps out pitching-wise for them. Ohtani apparently has been ranked, according to player value, how much they're worth on off the field, their value. He got $65 million, Harper's at 7, and Judge at 6. Makes sense. International superstar Ohtani even got a whole New Balance logo. You can check it out with him, a silhouette. And of course, Judge and Harper make a lot of sense. Tyler McGill, if that's his real name, or no, Trevor McGill, the Mets, one of their extra pitchers they've had around with Peterson out for the year. They're going to slide him to the 5th spot right now, and Budo is going to be sent down. Because we all know Cody Senga has got the year in the injury list, and they're relying on Severino, Shamanaya, Adrian Hauser, and Quintana in the rotation, so that makes sense. Santiago Espinal has been traded to the Rangers for this Chris McClelland. And again, if you're going to cut Tony Kemp, Josh Harrison's told he's not going to make the team, he opts out. Marte is out with a suspension. I don't know why you didn't keep one of them, and then you trade for the former Blue Jays utility guy who I think, did he make an all-star team one year when the second base was very thin? So that makes no sense, because again, I know Matt McClain's hurt, but you had guys in camp. I don't get it. But the Blue Jays needed to make decisions because they have too many second basemen with Schneider, Biggio, and Clement. Makes sense. Dodgers have officially fired Ohtani's interpreter over betting over other sports. More on that when it comes to like a full investigation of what's going on, so you got to keep up to date with that. Bogarts has now had a hit, and one of the 3 players to have a hit in 5 different countries: Canada, USA, Mexico, Korea, and England. Fortune News, Dalry Moreta for the Pirates had UCL surgery, so he's out for the year. I mentioned there was 2 big signings. Okay, we'll call this the third one. Michael Lorenzen signed a $4.5 million deal to join Texas Rangers, but with DeGrom, Scherzer, and Malley coming back at some point in the second half of the season, and you're going with Gray and Eovaldi and Dunning. Like, I feel like I'm missing someone in that rotation beside Gray, Eovaldi, and Dunning, but Heaney, maybe, yeah. That they have enough guys. I just didn't think Lorenzen was the best fit to help out that immediate rotation because, again, there are a lot of teams like the White Sox and Minnesota that could use a guy in their rotation, and maybe even the Reds rotation. Like, again, like there's just a few major league teams that I think of could really have used him as their 4th or 5th starter. Texas is going to just want to win the World Series, so give them credit. They're just loading up on pitchers. Greg Jones, who's an infield outfielder, has been traded to Colorado for left-handed pitcher Joe Rock. So the Rockies have DFA'd Sam Hilliard, who they just got back again. Okay. Alec Marsh is going to be the 5th starter in Kansas City, and Jordan Lyles is going to move the bullpen. Like, one thing about the Royals I thought was they had a nice mix of Reagans and Singer, the youngsters at the top, and Walker and Seth Lugo and Jordan Lyles in the back, so I don't understand that. The Cubs said Jordan Wicks and Javier Assad are making the final 2 spots because Tyone is starting to get an injury list, and they're going to have Smiley pitch on the bullpen. I think Drew Smiley is still going to be helpful as a 4th or 5th starter, so I don't get that. Aranda for the Rays, the utility man, has a surgery on his broken finger, so just add him to the list of Rays players who are injured. Renasti Contreras is making Pittsburgh's bullpen. Good for him. Oliver Ortega is unfortunately going to be out 4 months with elbow surgery. Giants said, we don't need a veteran Amir Garrett, so they're going to cut him. I don't like that move. Keston Hiura to make the Tigers because there's not enough room on the roster. Rangers announced that Shane Green, the former closer, Jason Shreve, the veteran relief pitcher, and Danny Duffy have all not made the roster. I don't get that. I mentioned they have a lot of injuries. That would be good for their bullpen. Bowden Francis is now the 5th starter in Toronto because we mentioned Gausman. And that's, yeah. Gausman's in Toronto. Robbie Ray's in San Francisco. My bad. I'm mixing up people. Robbie Ray's in that 1 through 5, and Kevin Gausman is on the Blue Jays. So Gausman and Manoah are battling injuries, so that makes sense that Bowden makes the 5th spot. Wyatt Langford, an outfielder, has made the Rangers roster, so congratulations to him. Orioles have sent down Jackson Holliday, Keston Kerstad, and Kyle Stowers. Makes sense. There's not playing time right now. Guardians, have put Miles Straw on waivers. And I just mentioned Michael A. Taylor. Perfect fit for that team. He's a Gold Glove. I think he's won 1 Gold Glove or been nominated for Gold Gloves, the former Astros center fielder. But Cleveland's like, nah. But again, you don't even have a right fielder. Will Brennan, I think that's his name. I feel like he is more of a backup outfielder. And Stephen Kwan, we know, is a pretty good two-way player. I just don't know what the Cleveland's doing in their outfield then. Bad news for the A's. The only veteran reliever they have that could be flipped at the deadline, Trevor Gott, is going to be out for the year with Tommy John surgery. Diamondbacks decided there's no room on the roster for Elvis Andrus, so they cut him out of his spring trading deal. Feel like he can help a team that needs infield help, so hopefully he latches onto a team. Carlos Carrasco and Beatty make the Cleveland roster, and I kind of knew that they were going to go with Carrasco. What's the point of bringing him back if you need some rotation depth? Tigers have sent Matt Manning down the AAA, but Casey Mize and Olsen are making the rotation. I know that Manning's going to come up at some point. JD Martinez is the biggest move. The Mets gave him a $12 million deal, which I don't understand. The Mets have DJ Stewart, who they like, a quad A player in terms of he can't really play the outfield. He's a first baseman DH. And they got Vientos and Beatty splitting time at third base. So I thought between Beatty and Vientos and Stewart, one of them was going to DH every day. And they signed some guys to minor league deals who I thought they could have had a chance to make the team. So again, I still think JD Martinez would have made more benefit to being on Cleveland, Detroit, or Baltimore, or Tampa Bay, in my opinion, more than any, or even the Red Sox again, more than anything else in the American League. And he definitely would have made more of an impact with the Marlins maybe, or let's say the Padres, who don't have a great DH candidate right now. But again, he got his $12 million. You should be happy. So that's it on all the moves. The last two things that I want to get to are Jim McAndrew, former Mets and Padres pitcher, has passed away. His second season in Major League Baseball, he won a World Series with the Mets in 1969, 37.53 record, 3.65 ERA, and 424 strikeouts. After retiring from baseball, decided to work in General Dynamics in Chicago, then worked in the coal industry. So rest in peace to him. He passed at the age of 80. Happy trails to Cole Calhoun, the former Angels, Diamondbacks, Rangers, and Guardians outfielder. Won 1 Gold Glove in 2015. 242 lifetime average, 179 home runs, and 582 RBI. He's retiring at age 36, which is not uncommon. But we all know when he came up, he was a very good defensive player, and he could run the bases, and he could be a productive player in a lineup. And he was pretty productive with the Angels. There's more of playing in the American League where guys sometimes they win 10 straight Gold Gloves like Ichiro and Torrey Hunter because sometimes reputation, and they decide to change the rules. So it's well, we're going to put someone in left field, right field, and center field some years, and sometimes they don't follow that. So it's all tricky to really evaluate how great of a defensive player he was unless you look defensively, statistics, or the eye test. That I think he probably could have had more Gold Gloves on his mantle. I know he was never going to make an all-star team because his numbers were not good enough to do that, and the Angels, no offense to them, have been really, really bad in their time with Mike Trout and Ohtani, so that also made sense. But at least he got to go out after being on a minor league deal with the Mariners and the Yankees and the Dodgers in 2023, and got to play for Cleveland at the end of the season to help them out. And he had at least 6 homers and 25 RBIs to end the season. So I thought that was a nice way to end his career, but happy trails to Cole Calhoun. Thank you again for listening to week number 20 of the Hot Stove edition of MLB Observations of the end of the 2023 season going this year's 2024 season. There'll probably be another one of these before opening day, and then there will be an opening day video. So again, thanks for listening. From the Radar Table Block, I'm Radar. See you guys next time.